Excellent. Jamie Beamish, how are you doing? You well?
Hi Andrew, yeah, goodbye, yeah. Sitting in me childhood bedroom in Waterford up the road, you know. So
There's quite a library of music in your childhood bedroom.
oh yeah, these are all old like CDs of like musicals, to be honest. Like huge, yeah. Of course I don't really play them anymore. I still have a CD player, but I don't like it's all Spotify now and whatever. But you keep them for sentimental value, and you find a few beauts. I mean, the original cast recording of Pentimenti, which we did in the '90s back home. Like, that's in there, and yeah, there's some crazy shit in there. Like,
God, we'll have to get on to Pentamente if we do, because you say that and it brings back an image of seeing the nearest thing that I saw to a film on stage. As a young person, that's what I remember thinking of it when I went to see it. I remember going, God, that's like, I don't know, it's something epic. It's like Hollywood being brought into Waterford stage, you know? Um,
yeah, Ben Hur. Well, I had to cast a Ben Hur in it, certainly. Like, I don't know. There's so many people in it. It took 9 months to rehearse.
well, we'll get on to that. So listen, the wonderful people at Garter Lane obviously got in touch with ourselves to have a little chat, I guess, around, I guess, our own experiences of acting and theatre, both coming from Waterford, both moving away to London, where I am now. It looks sunny, but it's definitely grayer than this light gives it. And just have a chat around, I guess, our experience of it, what we kind of, how Waterford was sort of beneficial, I think, and definitely for me, very much so. And how that sort of fitting into London and moving on professionally, what that was like. And then I guess as well, sort of, because I know you're heavily involved and have been in theatre in Waterford currently. And, I've been back and forth as well with the same thing. And it would also be great, I have to be honest, because you're in a very wonderfully amazing Netflix series, Bridgerton at the moment as well. So I'm sure head's been talked off you about that, but I'll have to jump in with a few questions around that as well. But to begin with, I kind of consider Waterford as a bit of a launch pad for myself, in that, unlike others I might have talked to who might have maybe not had access to a lot of facilities where they grew up, theatre wasn't really known as an idea and there wasn't a lot of support for it either in their community or in their family. My experience has definitely been, the opposite of that. It felt very different for me. And I think that put me into a certain place when I started, I guess, looking to the UK for training and stuff. I had a very different mindset about things, which looking back now, I can kind of see was really beneficial. For me, at least, But I mean, I wonder, that idea of Waterford as a launch pad, I mean, do you feel the same? What was your sort of experience coming from Waterford?
Yeah, the exact same as yourself. Because, like I always say, I don't know if I'd be doing this if I hadn't have been from Waterford. Do you
Mhm.
know? Because I know I like my family has no music, theater, in it or anything like that. No kind of background to it. And it's only because of going to Del Salle College and brother Ben was my music teacher. I ended up in music kind of by accident because there was too many people in the mechanical drawing class. So you went to your second choice, which was music, because I thought it'd be a DOS subject, to be honest. And so I ended up in Brother Ben's class, and he's an amazing man, and he gives instilled a love of music into me. And fast forward, then if like 5 years later, I'm in WIT doing a music degree, and I'm kind of doing that, and then suddenly I'm what was it like? Yeah, so I was doing like a student job scheme during the summer because you couldn't sign on back then, and I ended up getting on a placement with Little Red Kettle with Red Kettle, the summer show, the first one in '96, and then suddenly I'm in the middle of doing. Kind of writing music for a professional theatre company, which is kind of mind blowing. And all the way up to that, I've been doing amateur musicals. I kind of gotten into them as well. So there's all these loads of different avenues you kind of go where I was able to kind of experience the arts in a way that's not in my background at all, but I was completely, it was just there. It was there on a platter for me in Waterford. So I really believe that if I was from Kilkenny, I don't know if it would have happened, say, or somewhere else. It's just that the musical, theatrical, artistic life of Waterford was imperative, like was hugely beneficial, like you say, uh, to me. Then wanting to become what I eventually have become, whatever, like grand, and then going to London, what I was able to bring with me, the skills I was able to bring with me, and the outlook and the kind of professionalism that, say, Red Kettle would have given me, and the love of it that doing the musicals would have given me, that all comes from home, like
Mhm.
honestly, home, here. Yeah. So I completely agree. And I similarly, I talk to people who, you know, kind of go, oh, wow, you know, you had so much going on there. It's amazing. And that is the great luck of it, of coming from here, I think. Yeah.
I mean, not for us to diminish Kilkenny in any way, Jamie. Do you know what I mean? But I'd be interested in that, because I mean, to hear you talking around, you know, and my experience is very similar, but in different ways. It was less musical, but there was very much a Brother Ben influence actually, actually as well. But I mean, where were you then in the state of, you know, because lots of people within the Waterford community that are involved in the theatre, you know, might not get to that point, might not feel the need to get to the point of thinking, actually, I want to progress this on and I want to move this on and do it professionally, and I want to leave and sort of, you know, expand my learning. So, you know, for you then, what was that turning point just before you left? Because I imagine that there was a sort of increasing knowledge and sense of passion for it. And so, you know, what was the point where you kind of went, look, I really want to go and, you know, do this?
Yeah, I can pinpoint the actual point, to be honest, because I've been writing music for Red Kettle, Little Red Kettle, and then they asked me to be in their their Christmas schools show, which used to tour, you know, and it still does. It's even bigger now, but we used to all be like stuffed in the back of a van with the set pressing against us, like, kind of thing. And I remember sitting there in a gorilla suit, you know, with pink makeup on, playing a kangaroo pig, and thinking this is the best thing ever. I just kind of loved it. And then, you know, I sat in alleys afterwards, you know, after the run, and they gave us a brown envelope full of cash, and I kind of went, "Oh my God, I'm getting paid for this!" So this is absolutely amazing. I wanted to be a music teacher when I went to WIT to study music. That was kind of what I was thinking. But Brother Ben, like, it's such a high bar he sets, I think, as a teacher. You know, I wanted to be as good a teacher as him, and no less would do. And I did a bit of teaching, and I didn't think I was very good. And then I'm kind of in the back of a van dressed as a kangaroo pig, and I'm thinking, I'm pretty okay at this, like, and can get better if I go, you know, if I go and kind of do it properly, and if I can make a living out of it, if I can make a career out of it. God, wouldn't that be the business? Yeah. So that's really kind of when it happened for me. And of course, like I say, working with Red Kettle and seeing the professionalism, and that's not to diminish the musical societies, because actually they're you know, really, really professional outfits. When you do a show with the musical society in Waterford, it was always like, you know, the standards were huge. What Brian Flynn was putting on was as good as anything, because there was no professional musical theatre in the country really at the time. And actually you could see with what he was doing, that he was pushing the standards up and up and up. And it's just a confluence of those things where I just went, right, I want to go and I want to see, you know, go off to London and make your fortune or whatever. But actually I want to go and learn and get better, and then hopefully, you know, like I say, making my living. Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Love how the kangaroo pig was, you know, that first part that did it for you, Jamie. But there was a lot of things you mentioned there that sort of ring bells in my own head. And I guess from my own experience was, I guess, outside of the musical society, because I didn't have the natural singing voice that was eventually beaten into me. But you know, my own experience would have been at Waterford Youth Arts, and that was, I think, you know, I think what was great about that for me, at least, was that it was, you know, by the time I was 16, 17, I'd already had experience directing, writing, you know, learning how to make a set, how to light a rig, how to rig lights. You get this sort of vast experience from that. And also what I found really good about Waterford Youth Arts was, you know, they'd be off and going to festivals in different parts of the country, Kilkenny or Dublin. So I was continually being put into other groups of people and having to work with them really quickly. And because I was working, I think, every Monday night, getting up, doing, you know, devising a piece of theatre, making a piece of theatre, whatever, that by the time I remember going to, I think I heard of RADA because, you know, I think Keith Dunphy had been to RADA. I'd heard the name, but, you know, there was no internet back in the day. So I was like, trying to find information as to where you could go to train was really hard. If you could grab someone for 2 minutes and be like, look, what is this RADA thing or whatever. But I can remember going to RADA anyway and doing that series of auditions there. And I can remember going in, and there was a lad outside with me who was, you know, English lad, and he started talking about Brecht, right? And I'd never heard of Brecht. I don't know who that was, you know. And he was like, you know, you don't know who Brecht is, you know, good luck. And I was like, right, yeah. But I remember going in and getting a little bit of a drilling around, you know, how much Shakespeare have you read or you've been in, if you must have performed in some Shakespeare at this stage. And I was like, no, no, we don't do that, Shakespeare. And I could see the look of confusion in their eyes, kind of saying, where's this guy from? Like, if there's no theatre there, he's not got any experience of Shakespeare, he's hardly read one, what's the deal? And I can remember just going, no, we make our own theatre in Waterford. It's devised. And more than be able to say that, it was the lived experience for me. I was like, hang on, if the acting you're looking for is about someone standing on a stage and playing and making something real, then that's what I've been doing every day for the last, whatever, 4 or 5 years. So there was a sense for me, at least, unlike others that I knew, that theatre was something that I could do. And that I was
but I remember you in those productions, because I did the sound for a few of them, and I remember, like, you got to work with people like Pat Kiernan and Jimmy Fay, early in their careers as well. But I remember those, like the Dream Season and things like that. And they were like, I remember being in rehearsals for them going, God, the level of ingenuity here is huge. It's the creativity. It was massive. I loved being around it. And actually, I was quite jealous of you guys, because I come through the musicals, which is different. You get your script and the score is there and you're doing it. But the level of invention that you were doing, that was, even for myself watching it from the stalls, because with my keyboard and my gear, I was watching it going, God, you're having such a ball doing it. And so it made utter sense, and I remember you standing out, like, in a huge way, and being, into it. It was your thing, you know what I mean? You were really, really on it. And, you could see from who was there, everyone was into it. Everyone, kind of loved it. And they were a great bunch of people, but you could see who you might think would kind of go, God, I might give this a go, I remember you being one of them, but what an opportunity, like, to work with people like that. That was amazing.
And just, I think for me at least, the creative thinking people like Liam Maher brought to the idea of theatre. So it was never we're trying to reproduce what we think is good theatre. It was, let's scrap everything. Let's be as crazy as we can. And that sort of, as an actor now, stays in my head. If I'm approaching a new play or working with a group of people, the last thing I'm thinking of doing is trying to do the right version of that thing. I still have Liam Maher voice in my head, or Jimmy Fay voice going, look, let's scrap all that and let's see how wild we can make it within the confines. So that, for me, as a launch pad, as an idea and way of, I guess, approaching the profession, was massively useful, because it was never then something that I was reaching for. Like others I knew had, in England were like, well, one day the RSC will teach me how to be an
RSC, You get that, or I want to be in Les Mis, and I did, but like I never did. But the thing, like saying Liam Maher, like in a huge way, and Ben Hennessy in those early days, Lit Red Kettle for me as well, and guys like them, and Liam, really kind of, you were taught to think perpendicular to the idea, where you kind of go, you might read something, you might think of something, and rather than think of it in a normal linear way or anything like that, you're taught to think completely outside the box and to go off at that right angle and kind of see where it brings you. And that was exciting, and I remember kind of going to drama school and doing crazy things that you didn't do in musical theatre college. What are you doing? What is this? Kind of, and that all came from working with Lit Red Kettle and Waterford Youth Arts and things like that. It was really from that springboard in Waterford. You kind of, it was so useful to bring to London, I think.
Yeah, and to reflect on my own little brown envelope moment, a little like yourself, and I mean, there was I think The Pilferers, with a little one-act play with a lot of people in that we both know. And I can remember auditioning for that with Jim Nolan. And that was the first time I had to wait for a phone call afterwards, back when he had no mobile. And I realized recently that's been something I've been doing for 20 years since, waiting for auditions.
It doesn't change, does it?
Yeah, no, that doesn't go anywhere. And it was the same as yourself. It was that sense of, doing a play and that you didn't have to travel to do. And then there was that brown envelope that came at the end with a bit of money. And it was more, I'd been working in bars at that stage as a bottle boy and different things, working hard, working long hours and stuff. But there was a brown envelope with more money than I would make as a bottle boy in a bar that I was getting paid to do acting. And that, for me at least, was an experience that I had that then made me go, this is a real thing that happens. You can, somewhere in the world, get paid for this. And that began to, I guess, sow the seed of actually like, well, look, this could be a career in a way. But but and then the brother Ben as well. Just I can remember, and it's rare, I think, to have people like this knocking about. But I can remember in a world of work class, having to being asked what you want to do as your career. And I remember being really nervous for the first time, going, Jesus, am I going to say I want to be an actor in front of all the lads here? Like, everyone kind of knew it, but like saying it publicly is a bit like whatever. And I can remember saying, oh, look, brother, I think I might be an actor maybe, but I might go to drama school. But look, I said that the thousands of people audition for those things, and that the likelihood of getting in is so small. And I can remember him just going, without a moment's hesitation, just going, you'll get in.
Yeah.
And I can remember going, you can't say that because you don't know, and the odds. And he was like, you'll get in. But there was no one, do you know what I mean? Who was just, I guess, taking a leap in the same way. And I guess we were really lucky, I think we were both really lucky in Waterford to have that, to have the fact that there was such a collection of stuff available to us. And that mindset, like you say, with the Flynns of the world, that were kind of really working to make theatre as good as they possibly could make it within that. So it felt like, for me, and I think for yourself as well, we were stepping in at a professional stage already to a degree.
Yeah, I remember in drama school having, like, after the first 3 months and having a meeting, and they give you, your first 3 month kind of critique or whatever. And I had a nice critique from them. And then they said, like, they were talking about me dancing, which wasn't great, to be honest. So I had to kind of brush up on that. Singing wise, I'd been singing at WIT, so grand. And then acting wise, they were kind of going, you already have a professionalism that I don't think we can do anything about. As in we can't improve on. You seem to have come in with, you know what I mean, a great work ethic and big ideas and things like that. And that's great. We don't know what much more we can do with that aspect of it. You learn obviously different things and so on, but that bit, and that hit me, because you kind of go, yeah, well, that's what I got from home, really. That's what I brought. That's what I brought with me, and what the lads gave me, brought a bit, so on. Yeah, absolutely. Can I ask you, like, why? So, because we're saying, oh, we went to London and all this kind of stuff, but actually, I trained at Guildford in Surrey, in the Guildford School of Acting, and you trained at Bristol Vic. So we actually didn't train in London, either of us.
I know. As you say that, I almost forget it. I guess everything gets lost in that world of Ireland or London. But you're right, Jesus. We're like 3 years in the West Country, so a hillier version of Cork is how I describe Bristol in my mind. You're right. Was that any benefit to you not going? Because looking back in hindsight now, had I gone and been dropped at 18 into London and all of that, I wonder how things might have been different in a bad way as well as a good way. At 18, I wonder if I'd been dropped into the middle of that, how I'd think differently. I think it's been quite useful for me, at least, to go somewhere else that was a bit. We were in a tiny school; it's like 15 in your class. It's very insular in a way, but it meant that it was a very calm sort of training and experience, and we weren't lost with the whole sort of who's going to be in the film, who's going to get the film director coming in and casting you. You know what I mean? We were very much. Well, how was it a benefit for you going to somewhere before?
I think. Yeah, I auditioned for a few places, and when I went to Guildford, I remember getting off the train. I was in London and got the train down to Guildford, and I remember getting out, and there was I don't know, there was green, and there was trees, and there was, and I was a little bit older than you. I was 22 because I'd already done my degree in Waterford, but it just felt a bit more like home. Guildford is so far away from Ireland. It's like a retirement home, a retirement village in Surrey, basically, but I just kind of felt, when I want to, then I can head off out the countryside. I can go for a walk. I can do all that kind of stuff, because it was a big thing moving away. And I also felt when I went into the school for the audition, I kind of went, it's small. Yeah, like you say, there was 14 in my class. And so there was a real, when I was there, certainly, it was a great community. I knew everyone in the school. We all knew each other, well. And some of my best friends, I wasn't even in their class. I was in a different class, but, we all hung out, and we were, we got on. And I think that, because coming out of drama school, what do you get out of drama school? Oh, well, I became a better actor, became a better dancer, became a singer, whatever. That's fine. What I think anyway, the most important thing I got from drama school was a community, friends. Yeah. That when you come out of drama school, then you have a group of people that you get on with, and, you can, that can help each other, especially at the very start of your career, Yeah. I mean, I think there's an attractive thing, I think, for a lot of actors around being the lone gun, in a sense. I quite like it to a degree, about, being dropped in a place and having to work with a team
But I think long-term, sustainably, you do need that community of people around you that are
Yeah.
always there, that are always kind of working with. Which reminds me, I mean, one of the second or third jobs I had out of drama school was back in the West Country, ultimately, which we were both in. Much Ado About Nothing,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
which
Yeah.
was, it was crazy. I can remember going, you getting into it after the audition, and then there being two Waterford lads in this play. And what was it Peter Hall was saying to you about Waterford people and theatre?
That's right. Yeah. I said it to Peter after the first day of rehearsals. And I don't know if you remember, but I do very well. The first day of rehearsals for that show, the South Bank show was filming. So there was a camera crew going around, and it was like, God, I remember walking in and I remember seeing yourself and kind of going, oh God, here we go. And I nearly didn't do the job because I thought I was kind of going, oh, I wanted to, kind of play a bigger part or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? I was being a bit, being a bit stupid. And someone told me, cop on, it's Peter Hall, do it. Then I heard you were doing it and I was kind of going, yeah, come on, go for it. And I remember talking to Peter after that rehearsal because he was chatting to me. I was singing a song in it and he wanted to chat to me about the song. And I said, Peter, and he said, I like your accent, where are you from? And I said, well, I'm from Waterford, but so is Andrew. And Matt Dunphy, who kind of we know from Tremor, Matt was coming later in the season to do You Never Can Tell in the same season. I said, he's kind of basically, he grew up in Waterford as well. So I said, yeah, it's crazy. In this one season, you have three people from Waterford. And Peter Hall, big walrus kind of whatever. And he goes, well, you must be from a very talented town. Yeah. And I went, Jesus, I guess so. Like, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. There's Sir Peter Hall saying that about Waterford. So it was cool. Yeah.
He was an intense guy. I definitely remember. But I remember that first day, actually. And I remember learning a lesson definitely from you at the end of that, because I'd come into it, I don't know how old I was at the time, maybe 22 or 3. And very much in my own mind going, I'm literally doing the spear holding in this one, you know what I mean? So in a way, I'd sort of, in my mind, kind of just taken on a very low status role, kind of went, look, well, sure, I'm only adding my little bit to this, into the larger puzzle. But I can remember at the end, and we had, that film crew in to film that first rehearsal, which must have been absolutely terrifying for the likes of Dan Stevens and the others in the room that were having to read stuff. But I can remember at the end of it, they, finished their filming and it was just us as a company of, I'd say maybe, 15, 20 people there. I can remember you going, right, anyone going for a pint? And, about 8 people getting up and going, right, yeah, let's go for a pint. And I was like, that's great, because it was just a wonderful way of creating a company atmosphere really early on. And despite, I guess, in my mind, I would have thought, Asher, I'm just the spear holder here, I won't get involved. I can remember thinking that, Jesus, Jamie he's taken a role on here, which is very much about creating a company that was really well received and well appreciated. And I remember going, that's a little note to be taken on in a sense. But I mean, that for you, is that something that has always been a part of how you think about theatre, about this? That's how was that how you saw it yourself?
Yeah, I still do it to this day after the first rehearsal. I think it's really important to kind of, if you can, because, people have to go home and that's fine. But if you can, have a beer, you know what I mean? And say hello, because, the pressure on you in that first day is rotten. And you just you're only getting to know people. But you suddenly, if you go and have a little bit of a drink or whatever, a bit of a chat, you're suddenly getting to know the person rather than the person reading. And I think that's really important. And I think that what that came from was probably my first ever job, my first professional job, Pirates of Penzance. And I was in that for 8 months. I mean, it was a long gig, we toured everywhere. And I was the lowly chorus boy, I danced up the back, yeah. But I was treated on the same level by the principals, because it was a real company atmosphere, because it was at Regent's Park, the open air in Regent's Park, and the director Ian Talbot would always, kind of instill that in you, that company thing. And Gary Wilmot and Sue Pollard were the 2 leads, and I became very close to them and everything. And this has kind of blown me away. So I remember kind of every job I've ever done ever since, I've always tried to kind of say, let's be a company. That's the thing. Now, sometimes that can be if I had a small part in Much Ado, but sometimes then, if you're the lead, I've played the lead and things, and you kind of go, yeah, this has to be everyone has a part to play. Everyone has an important role, to something to bring to that room. And that's appreciated. And you want people to know that's appreciated as well. And also then to kind of go, right, end of the day, whatever happened in the rehearsal room, forget about it. Let's have a drink or a chat or whatever. And I think it's hugely important. Hugely important.
I mean, what you say there about everyone having a part to play, I think is definitely a lesson that I've learned over time. That sense of, because depending on where you are, I mean, if you're playing a larger part, I almost feel like I don't want my voice to take over from others who might speak in a way. But really importantly, I think it's no matter what part you are in that performance, you are bringing something quite unique to it. And like, I think there was a sense for me at least of, oh, I haven't got the right to say anything here. And actually, we're all missing out by not. So it was a real kind of moment of leadership I saw you take at that in that show and go, right, look, well, my job here can be to, create that first, break down those first walls. And I think there's something, no matter what show you're in, that was a lesson for me at least, going, well, look, there is a part that I have to play. There's the professional part as an actor, but also within the company, what is the role that I'm going to play? What can I bring to this? And that it's all valid really has been really useful for me.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, no, in a huge way. And you develop a shorthand earlier by doing that, when you kind of go, you start getting on with people, like, rather, because it's a weird one, because when you think about it as a job, you're walking in on the first day of school every few months, you hope, if you get a nice, kind of few gigs in the year or whatever, but it's the first day of school every time when you start a new one, people you don't know. And it's a tough one. I always think of Siobhan McSweeney, who we now know as Sister Michael, in Derry Girls. And Siobhan, I worked with Siobhan on her first job in England, on the Flags in the Manchester Royal Exchange, a new play. And the first day of rehearsals, I remember her coming in and she was kind of shy, And I was kind of thinking, oh God, you know what I mean? Yeah, she was quiet, like, and everything. And I was kind of going, God, that can be tough if you have someone like that, shy, and, in the rehearsal room, because you want people open, you want people kind of, ideas flowing all the time. And I remember thinking, oh God, like, you know what I mean? I hope she'll be all right, like, and everything. And you cut to about, like, we finished rehearsals at 6 and you cut to like 8 hours later, 2 a.m, and we're rolling out of Canal Street together, hugging each other like best of friends, like, and that really kind of helped, you know what I mean? The ice is broken, like, we're done here, we know each other a bit. And the next day in rehearsals, we're laughing about the night before, and then when the work starts, we're there, we're on it. And I think, yeah, I mean, not to bring it all back to drink, but it's just the social aspect of it. It can be a cup of tea, but it's something.
Yeah, I think it's crucial, because when you have to work with people so quickly and so closely together in usually a very short amount of time, that's quite often got a fair bit of pressure behind it, whether that be like, a couple of days filming and you've got, an hour or two in the hotel before you start filming the next morning to really get to connect with someone, or if it's that one night of rolling out a Canal Street with a bit of booze. It eases a lot of tension, doesn't it, for the rest of it?
It does.